Hi, I have a problem. I have too many arcs. I'm not good at reviewing them. I really need to be held accountable. So I'm doing this video to hold myself accountable. Today, we're going to talk about some arcs that I've read recently. A couple of them have come out already. I'm really bad at this. And then a bunch that I haven't read that I'm really looking forward to. I guess this would be like my books that I'm looking forward to the most in 2026 video. I do have, I think, 6 that I have read. 2 of those that I've read have come out already. And then I think I have 5 that I'm going to be reading over the course of the next week. And then I am going to review those on here, but also on Goodreads and NetGalley like I'm supposed to. The biggest issue is that I don't feel like I'm a very good writer. And so when I sit down to write a review, I have a really hard time getting the words right. All of these reviews feel so professional that I end up reading, and I can't write that way. And I know that I'll get better at it as I go, but I'm just not there yet. One of my goals for 2026 is to write reviews for more arcs, read them about a month before they're supposed to come out, and write the reviews on time. I would like to get 2 per month done. So that would make 24 written reviews for 2026. And that's 24 written reviews for arcs for 2026. I would like to get better at writing reviews for like everyday books that I read as well. But we're taking it one step at a time. We're talking about arcs today. So I rated these, or I'm going to talk about them based on what I rated them. I'm very liberal with my star ratings. If I had the best time with it, I'm going to rate it 5 stars. If I had a good time, but it wasn't like the best thing I ever read in my life, I'm going to rate it 4. If I had a good time, but I'm having like I have some qualms with it, then I'm going to rate it 3. And then like generally 2 is like, I barely finished this. And then 1 is I worked really hard not to DNF it. So the first book that I'm going to talk about is going to be a 5-star. I'm going to do it my 5-star arcs, my 4-star arcs. And then if there's less than that, I think there's 1 that's 3 stars. Then we're going to talk about that. The first one that I'm going to talk about, though, is the one that I want to talk about so bad. It is the one that I think I was looking forward to the most for this year, and I've gotten to read it, and it's spectacular. And that is And Now Back to You by B.K. Borison. I have my notebook, so I'm going to like keep looking down just to make sure that I give you the right information for each book, I guess. I'm just trying here. And Now Back to You follows Jackson and Delilah. Jackson, we met in First Time Caller. He does the weather at the same radio station as Works, doing Heartstrings. This is the second in that series. I don't know how many books are going to be in it, whether it's going to be a duology, or I hope it keeps going forever. Yeah, I love it so much. We're following Jackson now in And Now Back to You. He does the weather at the radio station. We're also following Delilah, who does the weather at the neighboring TV station. We sort of met her a little bit. I think we saw Jackson whine a little bit about her like parking too close to his car in First Time Caller. So now we are getting to see their dynamic up close. Delilah's having some trouble at the TV station. Her boss is always trying to sabotage her, it seems. The TV station and the radio station decide to collab, and they send Jackson and Delilah on a trip to follow this huge storm that is going to be hitting in Maryland where they live. So we're following them. It is close proximity. It is like a grumpy sunshine trope, but it's done so well. The forced proximity is 100% believable. The awkwardness is there. Like I always feel like with forced proximity, you don't get like the realistic awkwardness. If I were forced to stay in a room with someone that I don't even know if I like them, there's going to be a lot of awkwardness, and that is there, and I love that. The grumpy sunshine is also realistic. They delve really deep into what makes Jackson Jackson and what makes Delilah Delilah. B.K. Borison can do no wrong right now. I just absolutely love this. I was looking forward to it. I think everyone should be looking forward to it. I am pretty sure it will be my top romance of the year. The Way That First Time Caller was my top romance of 2025. And Now Back to You does come out February 24th, so we have about a month. The next one that I'm going to talk about is Finley Donovan Crosses the Line by Elle Cosimano. The Finley Donovan series is my favorite book series, I think, of all time. It scratches an itch that I got. I used to read the Jana Ivanovic for the money books. I used to have such a good time with them. Going back to read them now, I have a little bit harder of a time with them. And the Finley Donovan series, like, absolutely captures that same feeling for me. And it's set in Northern Virginia. I'm very familiar with Northern Virginia. And we are following Finley and usually her nanny, Barrow, who is also like her accountant and best friend. And in this installment, Vero has been extradited to Maryland because she is arrested for a crime that she may or may not have committed, stealing money from her sorority back in college. Finley sets out to prove that Vero is not guilty. Hijinks ensue, as they always do. This is the most humorous mystery series I've ever read. It is so much fun. Like I said, this comes out March 17th, so we have a little bit longer to wait for that one. It gives you time. You can catch up on the series if you haven't already. It is so much fun. The next 5-star arc that I read is You Did Nothing Wrong by C.G. Drews. I know everyone is probably looking forward to this one. Don't Let the Forest In and Hazelthorne were like Topps book 2 years running. And this is C.G. Drews' adult debut. Last year, we got the adult debut of Andrew Joseph White. And this year we get the adult debut of C.G. Drews, and it did not disappoint at all. The prose is gorgeous. They know how to write anything. They know how to make you uncomfortable. They know how to write incredibly flawed characters. And this is no exception to that. So in You Did Nothing Wrong, you're following Elodie, who has moved her and her autistic son Jude to the United States when she gets married. She's from Australia, and there is like a hidden past that Elodie is trying to kind of run from a little bit. It's kind of like talked about a little bit, and you learn along the way. Elodie's new husband, Bren, is fixing up his family estate. His parents passed away, and like the house is kind of crumbling, but like they're renovating it and it's perfectly fine. Everything seems ideal. But Jude is having a really hard time in the house. He says that they're hurting the house by renovating it. And Elodie is starting to feel really off-put by things that she's seeing in the house. And you just don't really know what's happening throughout the entire thing. Like, you will guess sort of what is going on. You'll start to put the puzzle pieces together, but there is no way for you to unravel it the way it's supposed to unravel. Like, you will have an idea of what's going on, but how that comes to fruition, like, you will never guess. So that one also comes out March 17th, which is really exciting. You get like a super fun read in Finley Donovan, and then you get like a really serious read in You Did Nothing Wrong. I suggest maybe reading You Did Nothing Wrong first, and then like palate cleanser, super fun time of the Finley Donovan Crosses the Line. Definitely check trigger warnings for anything you read, but if it is like a gothic horror mystery book like You Did Nothing Wrong by C.G. Drews, if it is by C.G. Drews at all, definitely check and see if the content warnings are going to be things that you're going to be okay with, that you're going to be comfortable with, because there's oftentimes a lot of traumatic things that happen in their books. And this is definitely not an exception. But if you've read C.G. Drews at all, then you already know that going in. And this is probably like the most realistic of their books. I think like Don't Let the Forest In and Hazelthorne both have this kind of like magical realism to them that you just don't feel like you're in the now with those. Specifically Hazelthorne, like you're constantly feeling like you must be back in Victorian times, and then they're like, oh, and then Evander pulled out a laptop, and you're like, oh, it's not Victorian times, but here in You Did Nothing Wrong, like you are absolutely in our current timeline, which makes the trauma a little bit more traumatic, I think. So definitely check content warnings. That was a 5-star for me. Definitely. And then we go into something a lot lighter, the YA romance series that started with Dungeons and Drama. We've got the next installment of that coming out May 5th of 2026, and that is called Roles and Rivalry. The series is by Christy Boyce. Roles and Rivalry was definitely really fun. I would say it is my, like, it's still really good. It's a 4-star for me, but it's not, I don't think, as good as Dungeons and Drama was. You're following Hazel, who is a senior and she's in the marching band. She's going to band camp. She's really excited. She's the captain of her marching band, and she is ready to have like the time of her life at band camp, but that's thwarted by the fact that her childhood best friend and crush, Max, shows up. He had moved away a few years ago. They didn't keep in touch, and he is a drummer, and like the drummers don't get along with the color guard, which is where Hazel is. And Max is weird. Like he's being really, really weird with her. And then on the other side of that, you have Hazel's parents are constantly like running D&D games at their house. Max's parents used to play D&D with Hazel's parents. So all of a sudden, Max is coming over to Hazel's house again, and Max's mom is playing. So you're dealing with a lot of that. And Max and a couple of other friends convince Hazel to run a D&D campaign for them. And it really brings a lot of people together. It brings a lot of the band members together. It kind of feels like second chance romance for these two. It also feels kind of enemies to lovers as much as like YA characters can be lovers, I guess, like enemies to kisses, I suppose. I absolutely love them. I think it's just a fantastic series. It explains the game mechanics of D&D really, really well. And I just think it does a great job. So this was 4 stars. That's Roles and Rivalry, Christy Boyce. It comes out May 5th of this year. The last 2 that I'm going to talk about are the ones that have already come out. One of them is great. It was 4 stars. The other one was like fun but iffy. I wasn't sure exactly how I felt about it, but we're going to talk about My Husband's Wife by Alice Feeney first. That one just came out like a week ago or so. I think it came out the 20th of January. And there's been a lot of buzz around this. I think it was like an early release for Book of the Month. The cover colors are very stunning. In My Husband's Wife, you're following Eden. Eden is an artist who's about to have her big break. She has a big like gallery opening. And right before it, she goes for a run, and you're with her on her run, and she comes back to her house. She's like explaining like her and her husband moving to this house in this town, and like she just loves it so much, and she's so excited about her gallery, and like it's just so great. And then she gets back to her house and she can't get in, and she doesn't understand how she can't get in. And what's interesting is during like her run, she's talking about the fact that like she doesn't bring her keys, she doesn't bring her phone or anything, because like why would she? They live in a safe area, it's very secluded, whatever. And she gets back to the house, she can't get in, and she doesn't have her phone, she doesn't have anything. She knocks, I guess, but she doesn't think anyone's home. And like the door opens and this woman answers, and she's like, "Oh, hey, who are you?" And the lady's like, "Well, I'm Eden, and I'm the wife of the guy who bought this place." And the Eden that we are following is like, "I'm Eden Fox. What do you mean?" And then like her husband calls the police, and basically everybody corroborates that this new woman that opened the door is Eden Fox. And that's all I'm going to say about it. It was really fun. It was super engaging and very fun, and I rated it 4 stars. And then the last arc that I read that we're going to talk about was a 3-star arc. It came out January 13th, so it's been a few weeks since it came out at this point. That is The Hitch by Sarah Levine. It promised to be like a satirical, like comedy book. Yeah, it was. It was a fast read. It was engaging. I don't know. I hated the main character, and I think you're supposed to, but it never. Maybe I just don't, maybe I'm not literate. I don't know. But it might have been saying something about like not being judgmental, and judgmental, like intense judgmental behavior leads to the ruin of relationships. And if that is what it was trying to say, and I guess it does say it like blatantly towards the end of the book, but I think it also was trying to say other things. And just, I don't know if it did a good job. Like, I just don't know if it did. And I could be completely off, and maybe it just wasn't for me. I did have a good time with it. Anyway, The Hitch by Sarah Levine. It came out January 13th. You are following Rose. She is self-described as intense, judgmental. She's a vegan, and she runs a yogurt company. She's a vegan. She's trying to sell it. She finds out, like, she reads a study that yogurt is bad for people, actually. And so she's trying to sell her yogurt company. There's all this stuff that's like barriers for being able to sell it. There is like a bacteria issue with a new shipment. Like, all of this is going wrong. She has two loves in her life. Her dog, Walter, who is a Newfie. So adorable. A big old Newfie named Walter is her dog. And then like, she absolutely adores her 6-year-old nephew, Nathan. She doesn't feel like her brother and her sister-in-law really trust her with Nathan, but they decide to let him stay while they go on a vacation. And Nathan comes to stay, and like, obviously Rose has like ideas of how she would parent him better. And obviously like Nathan is better off with her than he is with her brother, his parents. And she's like constantly judgmental of how they're raising him and how they feed him and like what school he goes to and all of this stuff. Well, it turns out like she's not so great herself. Her and Nathan go to take Walter on a walk. Walter ends up attacking a corgi, and that corgi does not survive the attack. I was really worried about that part. It's like super quick. I really was scared, like reading the synopsis of this book, that this part was going to be awful. It's so quick. It almost is like it doesn't even happen. The owner is like, no skin off my nose, I guess. It was my ex-girlfriend's dog. And then Nathan, the nephew, starts acting really, really weird and says that the corgi like lives in him, and he is now possessed by this corgi. So throughout the entire book, you are watching Rose like spiral trying to get rid of this corgi that has possessed her nephew, and like learning, I guess, as she goes, like how not to be as judgmental, sort of. I don't know. I don't feel like she actually learns that. She just sort of spirals into a mental breakdown. Do I recommend it? Kind of. It's a good time. If that seems like something you would like, go for it. I rated it 3 stars because it was Midland for me. And it was a quick read. So maybe it's good for you. But now I need to read some more arcs, and I need to review them. So I have kind of like an arc TBR at this point of what I want to read. And I have started one. The one that I've started is Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter, and that's by Heather Fawcett. Heather Fawcett wrote the Emily Wilde series. And I like the Emily Wilde series, but it didn't take my world by storm like it did for other people. It's like too cozy fantasy for me. I don't know. It just wasn't my thing. But this, the way it has started, has Howl's Moving Castle feelings to it. And I think I'm going to love it. I'm just at the beginning. But you're following Agnes, who runs a cat shelter, and like something happens at the hands of a magician in the street that makes the cat shelter and the apartment above it unlivable, and she has to find a new place to run it. Enter Havelock, I guess. He is a magician who has a building that he rents to her, and he just like stays in the basement in his workshop. And that's as much as I know about it. But it's in the 1920s, which is a really interesting time period to have like a cozy fantasy set, a cat shelter. It just is a lot of settings that I haven't seen before in a cozy fantasy situation. And Havelock does seem a lot like Howl, and I love Howl's Moving Castle, the book. So we'll see. I'm really looking forward to like getting through that one. And then after that, I think I'm going to read Wolfworm by T. Kingfisher. I am always up and down on T. Kingfisher's work. There are some that I think are absolutely brilliant, and then some that I'm like, you know what, that just wasn't for me. And I would say that her like biological horror books are for me, and that's what this seems like the What Moves the Dead, What Stalks the Deep, sort of like the Edgar Allan Poe retellings that T. Kingfisher does are for me. And then this one is set in 1899, and an illustrator named Tawnya moves to North Carolina to work for this like isolated doctor who's into insects and is studying insects and needs someone to illustrate all of his findings. So she is brought there to basically paint pictures of insects, but like weird things are happening. The people who work at this manor are talking about this thing called the blood thief, and they're like, yeah, you can't go into the woods because of the blood thief. And I am wondering if maybe the doctor is doing something weird, and maybe he or something that he's experimenting on is the blood thief. My top book last year was You Weren't Meant to Be Human by Andrew Joseph White, and that was like a bugs and guts horror book, sort of. And that was my number one for 2025. Already, there's a couple of books for this year that I'm like, they might be on par with that, and Wolfworm is one of them. So Wolfworm by T. Kingfisher comes out March 24th, 2026. After Wolfworm, I think I'm going to go back to cozy fantasy because Summer England will be releasing her debut novel, The Impossible Garden of Clara Thorne. Summer England is like a book talk influencer, sort of. She's like a Shakespearean actor, and me and one of my best friends have followed her forever, and she wrote a cozy fantasy book. And the moment that it was announced that it was on NetGalley, me and my friend absolutely went on and we were like, it's ours. Yes, so I need to read it so that I can talk to her about it, and I need to review it. I want it to do really well. I hope it's really good. I'm looking forward to it so much. Clara Thorne essentially she's a witch with plant magic, but her magic doesn't extend outside of the town that she lives in. Her town's name is Moss. So she's sent on a quest to go grow a garden in a town called Dwindle, but her plant magic does not extend past Moss. She does have to fight off feelings for the person who is put in charge of her. It sounds really nice, and I hope it's really good. And that one comes out April 27th, and that is The Impossible Garden of Clara Thorne by Summer England. And then after that, I'm going to probably read That Which Feeds Us by Kiala Kendall. I don't know anything about this author. The cover was great. And I think I saw in one of the like top booksellers, what you should be looking out for in YA. It's That Which Feeds Us by Kiala Kendall. It comes out May 26th of this year. And it says it's a native Hawaiian teen travels to a luxury resort to find her missing twin and uncovers the dark side of paradise. It's a YA supernatural thriller. I'm really looking forward to it. And then after that, I am going to read The Disaster Gay Detective Agency by Lev A.C. Rosen. That one comes out June 2nd of this year. And essentially you're following Brendan, who works at a hotel, and he has like a one-night stand with a guy named John who says he'll call him or whatever, and then John ghosts him, and he's like, oh yeah, okay. Brendan's like, whatever. Then Brendan stumbles across a murder, and John, I guess, is running from it. And so Brendan and his like co-workers all are going to try to prove that John is not the murderer. So that sounds really fun. And I needed a good mystery on this list. That sounds like a blast. And that's it. That's what I have on my list. I'm looking forward to reading all of those arcs. I have a lot more. If I get through these soon, then I think I'm going to read Nowhere Burning by Catriona Ward, which is one of my most anticipated of the year, but I'm also like trying to like diversify, like read things maybe I wouldn't have picked up otherwise. Catriona Ward, I'm going to pick up no matter what. Like Last House on Needless Street was fantastic. So was Sundial and like a whole bunch of her other books. So, but I do think if I finish this list and I'm successful in my quest of reading, reviewing, recording, all of that for these arcs, then I'm going to read Nowhere Burning by Catriona Ward. But that is my most anticipated, I guess, or like soon to be read arcs for 2026, along with some reviews for a few of the arcs that I already read. So that's it, and have a great day.